Reset that quick. And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I'm so excited to welcome back tonight one of my very favorite guests, book critic Oline Cogdill, here to share her best, most spooky, most creeptastic, thrills-inducing, chills-inducing, spooky book picks for spooky season. Oline, welcome back to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. We're so happy to have you.
Sara, thank you. I love doing this show, and I'm always glad to be on here and to give my my feeble picks.
Your fabulous picks. Fabulous picks.
Sara, you and I had talked about something, and before we begin, I hope I thank you for indulging me, and I hope that the readers that are out there will also indulge me for about 30 seconds. A couple of weeks ago, a very dear friend of mine died unexpectedly. Suzanne and I had known each other since we were 7 years old. We texted every night, including the night before she passed, and she loved mystery and thriller mavens. She always watched, especially when I was on. And she was a reader, and she was a fan of just about every author I'm going to talk about tonight. She told me how much she was looking forward to some of the books that were coming out, the day before she died. So I want to dedicate this session of Mystery and Thriller Mavens to Suzanne Zellner Lee. You are most missed, my friend.
Oh, Oline, thank you for that beautiful dedication, and I am so very sorry for your loss. And
Thank you.
I mean, to be friends with someone from the time you were 7 years old, what a beautiful, lifelong, lasting friendship.
And I have to say, I'm very lucky, as I have several friends that I have known since I was 5 or 6 that are still in my life. So let's talk about books.
Wendy Catch a Clue saying, my heart goes out to you, Oline.
Oh, thank you.
Marcy McCreary saying, I'm so sorry for your loss, and sending her love and best from Nantucket. And you know what, Oline, this just occurs to me. You said that Suzanne was a lifelong reader and often watched us. So you know what? Tonight I will buy one lucky listener a copy of the book in Suzanne's memory, a copy of the book of your choice in Suzanne's memory. So let's honor her that way as well.
Oh, Sara, that's so sweet of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course.
When I was here, let's get on to the books, and that will honor her also.
Okay.
When I was here for the summer picks, I mentioned how great a summer it was for books. And so many terrific books came out this summer, and it was hard to narrow down my choices. Same thing now. Fall and winter, there are so many good books coming out. It makes my job difficult, which I love. That's good, difficult. And I have too many to recommend, I think. And I just kept narrowing it down. We have some big names coming out this fall. Shrines of Gaiety by Kate Atkinson. The Fall Girl by Marcia Clark. The Bullet That Missed continues Richard Osman's Thursday Murder Club novels. Fairy Tale by Stephen King. Lee Child and Andrew Child have a new Jack Reacher, No Plan B. I think they always had a plan B. Louise Penny's returning with A World of Curiosities. Jane Smiley has a crime book coming out in December that's titled Dangerous Business. Okay, I'm not going to talk about any of those. I just want to give the readers a little hint of what a great fall and winter it's going to be. I want to introduce them to other books. So
everyone's so excited. Chelsea saying hello, everyone, and Layla saying hello from Savannah, and everyone saying they're so excited to hear what you're going to pick, Oline.
Okay, my first book. Are we ready?
Yes, ma'am. We're ready.
Let's start with September. I know September's gone, but it's still up. The books are still good. Back to the Garden by Laurie R. King. Ooh. I love this book. Laurie King is best known for her Sherlock Holmes and Mary Russell novels. Back to the Garden returns to contemporary San Francisco for a story about a mansion turned commune turned art museum. And the remains of a young woman are found when they're moving this huge piece of art in the garden. And they know it dates back to the 1970s and when it was a commune. So we've got a look back at the 70s and now. For many of us, it's hard to believe that the 70s are considered historical.
Right? The 70s are historical. They were yesterday.
Right. Now, this is going to be launching a new series. I think it's going to be terrific. Ooh. And it's going to be featuring Raquel Lang of the San Francisco Police Department's Cold Case Unit. She's an insightful detective. She's very smart. She is no social skills. She is very awkward when she talks to people. And, she's a mess, but she is a great character. I highly recommend Back to the Garden, and it's just a really terrific book. As for Mary Russell and Sherlock Holmes, I'm sure that they're on some fabulous journey somewhere, and, they're tending to those bees or something. Anyway, Laura King is going to be coming back next year with Mary Russell and Sherlock Holmes.
Ooh.
So.
And you have a fan from Candalia, Texas. Debbie, welcome to the conversation. Saying hi, Oline from Texas.
Debbie, oh my God, Debbie is one of my friends that I've known since I was 6 years old. Thank you, Debbie.
Hi, Debbie. Welcome. So great to have you.
Okay, my next pick, and I am in love with this book, is also All That's Left Unsaid by Tracy Lynn. It's one of my favorite books of the year, and it's also a debut. It takes place in a Vietnamese community in Australia. Who knew? It brings you to a whole new world. And a young reporter, she returns home to find out who killed her very popular younger brother in a crowded restaurant on the day of his high school graduation. Ooh. And it just touches on so many things: racism, family issues, the immigrant experience, traditional ways, fear of outsiders, and just so much more. And the police force that handles this community is 100% white. And they really have no interest in trying to help the people. It's also a community that's just been overrun with one of the biggest heroin epidemics in Australia. And there's a lot of witnesses to this murder. Many of them are family friends they've known forever. And people don't want to say anything. They're afraid of the police. They're afraid of the murderers. And it is such a cool book. And I thought she lived in Australia. She's from Australia, but she lives in Brooklyn. So highly, highly recommend that. Now,
that sounds fabulous. Everybody, I'm going to be posting the links to buy these books at our favorite.
Good. I hope so.
Here we go. Yeah.
Okay. This next one, this is really fun. Ooh. Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Rayburn. Now, she's best known for her series about Victoria, England. And this one, the killers are 4 women who are now in their 60s. They've been trained to be assassins since they were for the past 40 years. And the company they work for targets arms dealers, sex traffickers, the occasional dictator, cult leaders, nobody nice, they've also just decided that they're going to retire. But their bosses have other ideas. It's assumed that they're going to be very easy targets because, their knees aren't as strong anymore and their hair is gray. But, you just don't discount women. Just, it's too easy to overlook them. And that's part of their superpower. Ooh. And it's also about how senior women are often overlooked. And it's also about the power of friendships because these women are all really close. They've established lives throughout the years. I mean, these assignments don't come up every day. It's like a 9 to 5. And it's just such a fun book. Again, Killers of a Certain Age.
Nathan is saying he has his eye on Killers of a Certain Age. Christine saying she's heard great things about your book picks and this book pick. Hi, Christine. Great to have you. Aline, I loved this book. Wanda Morris is in the house.
Oh,
Hey,
wonderful.
Wanda. I'm
Oh.
hosting Wanda in 2 weeks. Tune in then, October 24th, for a very special pre-launch event. Can't
Wanda,
wait.
stick around.
Ooh,
And
Debbie.
hi to Nathan. I haven't met him just yet, but he's just started a job down here, and we're going to he's working for the Library Foundation. So welcome to South Florida.
Yay! Sherry saying she loved Killers of a Certain Age. Debbie saying she read Killers of a Certain Age and it's such a great book. She couldn't wait to see what happened next and she loved the themes in it. Marcy saying she noticed a bit of a Richard Osman Thursday Murder Club vibe with her character, with the characters there.
That's true.
Nathan saying thank you so much for the shout out there, Aline. We love libraries. So Nathan, thank you.
And he's going to be working with the Literary Feast, which is something that Broward Public Library Foundation puts on. It is a wonderful event. It brings in wonderful authors. It supports literacy, and it's just it's one of my favorite book groups. Okay, moving on.
Moving on, let's hear it.
The Marsh Queen by Virginia Hartman. Now you had her on recently, right?
Last week, yes, I had her on. So she's a debut author, and tell us why this book grabbed you, what you loved about it.
Well, it very well delves into issues of family, how we reconcile the past, bird lore, and also the idea of what our parents did before they became our parents. And how we don't always know that. We sometimes don't want to acknowledge it. This is about a woman who loves her job as a bird artist at the Smithsonian. And she returns to her hometown in northern Florida when her mother has an accident. And her father died when she was 12 years old. So she's coming back to kind of come to terms with that. When she's going through her mother's stuff, she sees a lot of things about her father. It just brings back a flood of mystery of memories. And she also is dealing with her mother's pending dementia, her ongoing angst at being back in her small hometown. There's just so much wonderful going in. It's beautifully written. The description of birds is really it's just very cool. And I never knew what went into those wonderful paintings of birds and animals and rocks, because there's all these different departments. Highly, highly recommended. All right. Now, this other author I've enjoyed for years, Mother, Daughter, Traitor, Spy by Susan Ela McNeil. Now, Susan McNeil is best known for her Maggie Hope novels, which are about a young typist for Winston Churchill during World War II, who eventually becomes a spy. This is a standalone. It's set in 1940, just before the U.S. entered World War II. And it's a mother and daughter of German extraction. They moved to California, and they're caught up in the American Nazi movement, which was very strong there. There's a lot of resentment about how the United States should not get into the war, how they support Hitler. It's a very chilling one. McNeil really established her, I think, her historical credentials with the Maggie Hope series, and the research in this is just phenomenal. And they are a mother, they are a daughter, they are not traitors. And there's also an underlying theme of how ordinary people, can really rise to the moment. How people can be, when they're needed, they can risk their lives to stop hate. Patriotism is part of it, but it's also a desire to do something more, something that matters, and the sacrifices that go on to save lives, regardless of the cost to yourself. It's just a terrific book. Now, Maggie Hope will be returning next year from Susan, and I'm sure she's on some another fabulous assignment from Winston Churchill. But meanwhile, I really highly recommend this book.
Ooh,
Okay, they're not all women that I recommend. The
this is
next one is Forsaken Country by Alan Eskens. It just
ooh.
came out a couple of weeks ago, and I really, again, I recommend all these books, but redemption is always a reoccurring theme in crime fiction,
Mm.
and he really exquisitely tackles that. It's the fourth novel about former Minneapolis homicide detective Max Rupert, and he's been living as kind of a hermit for penance. It's kind of a penance for himself because he killed the man who murdered his wife. Now,
Mhm.
he doesn't feel remorse. He doesn't feel guilty about it. The man was a violent thug who had killed other people. But this is a self imposed exile to come to terms with the darkness inside himself. He's a good man, but he doesn't often feel that way. And he's brought back into kind of in civilization when the former sheriff asked him to find his daughter and grandson who have just disappeared. And it's not like that to happen. They know who did it. That's up front. But the tracking, the beautiful scenery of Minnesota, the Boundary Waters, which is an area I know I keep reading about in William Kent Kruger and some other books. But it's beautifully written and beautiful scenery.
Ooh, I love beautifully written and beautiful words and beautiful scenery is where my heart's at.
Yes, right? Okay. And here we are moving on. Um, Real Bad Things by Kelly J. Ford.
Ooh.
Now, this was supposed to come out in June and it was pushed back to September. So it's only come out recently. This is about a woman who returns to her small Arkansas hometown. And she's expecting that she will be arrested for the murder of her stepfather more than 20 years ago. She confessed in killing him, but no body was ever found. But now it has been. And, it's a really, again, beautifully written story about the area, how your upbringing and your town really affects who you are. And the woman and her half brother, who she reconnects with, they were raised in violence. They got used to being abused at home. When the police would come, if they would come, they always would take the side of the adults, especially the man. So those are a lot of things going on there. It is she finds the beauty not in the violence, but in the characters' abilities to kind of reinvent themselves, to survive, and to map out a future for themselves, especially the lead character. And, no matter how bad things become, and they have become bad things, Ford kind of shows us that there's really hope. And I always love those kind of redemption type stories. Okay. Short stories. They kind of get a short shrift, I think.
Ooh.
Agatha, 12 New Mysteries. I'm sorry, Marple, 12 New Mysteries.
Ooh.
This is 12 stories, short stories that feature Agatha Christie's Miss Jane Marple, and they are written by some of the best mystery writers around. Ruth Ware, Val McDermott, Alyssa Cole, Lucy Foley. It's just a really terrific book. So highly recommend that. And I'm going to throw one last one in, Enclaves.
Ooh.
Who doesn't love Enclaves? A Rising Tide. And this is a Vera book. It's about a group of friends who've been meeting for the last 50 years, like every other year. And on this isolated island, and bad things happen, of course. But, she's just such a good writer, and she just always entertains us, I think. Okay, now.
Absolutely. She is always, and Enclaves always delivers.
Yes, she does. So bear with me while I continue to get set up here.
Yeah, no, thank you. This is such a wonderfully, there's so many, there's here for something for everyone here. I love that.
I think so. I hope so. October. I
Yeah.
love this book. Wanda Morris's Anywhere You Run. It is her second novel, and we are going to be reading Wanda Morris for the next 20 years, I think. At least I hope. Now,
Yeah.
it is, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, tell us what you
Okay.
love.
Wanda uses the 1964 murder of 3 civil rights activists in Mississippi. And it's really stunning because that's kind of the backdrop, and it revolves around 2 sisters' relationship. And it's equally grounded in racism, family, and small town sensibilities. I just love it. The 2 sisters are forced to leave Jackson, Mississippi, one because she kills the white man who raped her, and knowing that as a Black woman in Jim Crow era, she will not be treated fairly. And the other ends up in Ohio after quickly marrying this really dim-witted boyfriend after becoming pregnant by another man. And this my other sister has dreams of becoming a lawyer. And, that's just kind of gone now. But is it? The suspense really wraps up. Each sister finds out she's being targeted, and because they possess some damaging evidence. And it alternates between each of the sisters' point of view, how they struggle in a racist society. And the characters are just so finely sculptured. I loved her first book, and the name is absolutely escaping me now.
All Her Little Secrets. One of my favorite books is such a fabulous book.
Oh, her debut was absolutely terrific, and I loved it. I love this one, so keep writing, Wanda. All right, this is a new author to me, Jackal. And this is by Erin E. Adams. And it's about a woman who heads home to her hometown in Pennsylvania for her childhood friend's wedding. Now, she's kind of steeled herself to deal with her friend's racist family, and she knows what's coming from them. But then a child goes missing during the celebration, and the key to her disappearance stretches back decades of missing children, all of them young Black girls. And they were all seen during the summer solstice. And there's a lot of elements of horror, and sometimes it moves into Jordan Peele territory. It's really a terrific book. I keep saying it's a terrific book. I'm not going to mention ones that are bad here.
I'm excited for these books, Oline. I'm so excited.
Are we doing good on time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Lavender House.
Ooh.
By Lev A.C. Rosen. I'm not familiar with this author, but he's been doing a lot of stuff lately. I mean, he has a lot of books out, and I just read it. He really channels that old-fashioned private eye novel with a locked room mystery. And he also delivers a very tense, character-driven story about gay life in 1952 San Francisco. It's got everything going for it. This is about, the search for the killer is the foundation of Lavender House, but it also delves into secrets, homophobia, and the need to connect with other people. And the characters are very believable. And 1952, it's more than 70 years ago, and that is definitely historical. It's about...
Unlike 1977.
Yeah. And it's about a man called Andy Mills. He always wanted to be a cop. He's 32 years old, and he's become this really skilled investigator for the San Francisco Police Department. That ends when he's arrested during a raid on a gay club. And he's not just fired. He is blacklisted from ever being a cop again. He is kicked out of his apartment. And now he's hated by the cops that he thought were his friends. Remember, this is 1952, not 2022.
Right.
He's offered then a job to investigate the murder of a wealthy woman that occurred in a secluded house where everyone is gay and lesbian. They offer a lot, and her wife, the deceased woman's wife, wants to find out how she died and who killed her. And it's very sad because if it came from within the house, that means that one of the residents did it. And on the estate's grounds, these people they can show affection to their partners, which is denied them in society in 1952. Now, in public, the residents, they manage a successful empire of soap making, and everyone is gay in the house except one person's mother. And it's also very much about families who get on each other's nerve, who annoy each other. There's a lot of pettiness that goes on, but there's also pure, unadulterated, unconditional love. And I think that's what drives the plot too. Okay.
Oh, I'm loving the sound of these books.
Okay.
Oline, I just want to say Wanda is saying that she loved Lavender House. So your last book pick was Wanda. Now Wanda's saying she loves this book pick. Marcy McCreary saying she needs a new bookcase for all your fabulous book picks, Oline.
That's great. I love that. 1989 by Val McDermott.
Ooh.
Okay. Val has this very ambitious project that she's going to be looking at each decade at the end of the decade. Last year was 1979. Now we have 1989. And what she does is there's a reporter who's the main character, and she kind of sees the lens of the world, the global and the Scottish happenings. And it works so well. And she says, I think the fact that she sets it at the end of the decade kind of lets her evaluate how that decade went. And, I love, she includes a playlist at the very end. Bring on 1999.
Woo! And Wanda's been posting some really fun, fabulous 1960s playlists, and that is my favorite era for music. So
of course.
I love a good playlist. Oh, we have our friend Melissa joining from Australia saying hello, Sara and Oline. You're just in time, Melissa.
Hi, Melissa.
From Australia. Thanks for tuning in.
Wow.
Oline, tell us your next book pick.
Okay.
Oline, someone is saying, was the last book set in Scotland?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, 1989 is set in Scotland, but also in England, because the character starts off. She's from Scotland. Her job moves her to Manchester, England. So a little bit of both.
Okay, great. Thank you for the question, mystery user. We're glad to have you, Oline. Thanks for the answer. Tell us your next pick, ma'am.
Absolutely. Double Exposure by Ava Berry.
Ooh.
And this is about two young women. They're from very similar, wealthy, privileged backgrounds whose families have just disintegrated. It's a very provocative, what they call neo-noir. And it's also very character-driven, some really exciting twists. And it's a very lyrical look at Los Angeles. Now, 4 years after an LA heiress is attacked and her parents are murdered in their home, she returns to the city and to the house that all this happened, or the mansion. And she's been receiving very threatening messages. She thinks that she's being stalked. So she hires a private investigator who becomes way too involved with the heiress, and maybe also keeping the family's dark secrets a little bit on her own. The private investigator works for an all-female boutique firm, and she has a lot of problems herself, especially with her family. So here we go. All right. I'm going to take a little bit lighter touch right now. And that is...
I just want to ask, what is, did you say it was neo-noir? What does that mean?
It's like a new dark vision. And I've been hearing this term, and actually I'm not completely sure I'm on board with it, because to me there's noir and there's mysteries, but it's just it's just really very dark.
Ooh, okay. Well, thank you for letting me know, because I hadn't heard that before. Debbie's saying that the Enclaves book that you shared is her current book club selection, and she can't wait to pass it November 2nd. Debbie, thanks for letting us know.
That's wonderful. Okay. Calypso, Corpses, and Cooking by Raquel V. Race. This is a little bit lighter. Now, she proved in her first debut that she really has the right recipe for an engrossing, light culinary mystery. And she blends Cuban American culture, a love of food, and very appealing characters into a really solid plot. Um, her main character is a food anthropologist who recently moved back to the Miami area with her family. And she's also found a very satisfying job as hosting two local cable cooking shows. And, I think the characters are just so real and so appealing. One thing I also liked about it is that she has a very strong marriage. She has a loving relationship with her 4-year-old son and a deep friendship with her best friend. So she's a good character. She's not, falling down all the time. Okay, now she does have a very judgmental mother-in-law who constantly belittles her and her culture in front of others.
Ugh.
And one of the things about culinary mysteries, they've been around for decades, going back to Virginia Rich, or actually even back to Nero Wolfe. And they've taken a real turn in the past 10 years as more authors of color have lent their voices and recipes to this character. And I think that's very exciting. And, the culinary mysteries, they needed a good boost, and they are getting one. Now, I have another culinary mystery, but I don't have the book because it's in the other room. It's Blackmail and Biblica, I think it is, by Mia Manasala. And her heroine is a restaurant owner, and the plot kicks in high gear when her prodigal cousin returns after 15 years. It's very much about Filipino culture and cuisine, and again, a very close family knit. And to me, the characters are very, very realistic. You'd actually like to have them over for dinner, especially if they would cook.
I love to eat, so that's good.
Okay. Last one for October is Funeral Train by Lori Lowenstein. This is her second book set in the 1930s Dust Bowl. And it's set at the height of the Depression. It's set in a small town of Oklahoma. And the sheriff there is a really good man. He usually deals with stray cows or moonshiners. But a passenger train is derailed. And it turns out to be sabotage. And he's also worried about his wife, who was severely injured in the crash, and his responsibilities to the vulnerable people who depend on him. They're poor, they're struggling, and it's a really rich sense, I think, of the period of the Depression and the place. And it shows how hard times can bring out the best and the worst in it. And her first book was Death of a Rainmaker, came out in 2018. This is a follow-up with the same characters.
Yeah, I love a good follow-up. Oh,
I do too. Okay, we're moving on. Trying to move my November books over.
Woohoo, November.
Oh, November. We're already there. Okay, Michael Connelly, Desert Star. I don't think it would be November if we didn't have a new book from Michael Connelly. I have said many times he is the most consistent living mystery writer we have today, or crime fiction or thriller, whatever you call. And he always just delivers. And in Desert Star, he reunites Renee Ballard, who he introduced, I think, 5 books ago, and Harry Bosch. Now, last year, Renee left the LAPD, but she's now back because her chief of police told her she could basically make her own job. And she's now been put in rebuilding the cold case unit in the elite robbery homicide division. And naturally, she enlists Harry. Harry's retired. But he has never given up his mission. And this gives him a chance to kind of follow that white whale. He's always wanted to solve this one case of a man who killed an entire family. He knows who did it, but he's never been able to find the man. And, he takes us to new parts of Harry that we're never used to. And we see a new side of him in this book. Harry has just been such a wonderful character all through the years, and we just root for him. So You can never
I
go
like,
wrong with Michael Connelly.
I like you said that it wouldn't be November without a Michael Connelly.
It wouldn't be. We have to have that. You mentioned buying a book for someone, and let me mention it would be Lisa Unger. My friend Suzanne was a big fan of hers. Secluded Cabin, Sleep Six.
Yeah.
And she always takes her character-driven plots, I think, to new directions that the reader never really expects. And this explores the dynamics of six people, and one stranger who are in a secluded luxury rental for the weekend. And the owner is very nosy. There's a storm approaching, and no one can leave, and no one's getting along with each other. And there's just a lot of mysteries that keep going throughout the book. I've noticed, Sara, in the past year or two, I must have read like 7 or 8 books where people are going on exotic vacations or vacations in remote areas. I think because we've been locked down so much. And, it never really goes well.
It never goes well. Yeah.
And thank goodness, because if it went well, there wouldn't be a book, right?
Right. So, okay. I read an advanced copy of that one. I absolutely loved that book. I loved everything about it. I love how Lisa writes from the heart and puts her whole heart out there. I'm so excited for this book.
Oh, yeah. She's always good. Now,
she's coming on October 20. We're having a special Halloween extravaganza. Lisa Unger will be here at 3 p.m. Eastern to give us the scoop on Secluded Cabin, Sleep Six. So October, wonderful. Halloween extravaganza. Tune in.
People come back. Okay. Racing the Light by Robert Craze. I can't believe it's been 3 years since we've had an Elvis Cole and Joe Pike novel. Wow. And that was 2019's A Dangerous Man. But then many of us haven't been out in the public for a while, so we're all getting back used to it. In this one, Elvis and Joe are hired to find a controversial podcaster who has disappeared. Now, their client is his mother. He never backed away from a controversy. And his latest story involved an adult film star tied to a city politician and a pay-for-play scheme. Got a lot of good stuff in there. Wow. Bring in a vicious cartel, Chinese operatives, and his own mother. And you've got a really terrific story. This is Craze's 19th outing with Elvis Cole and Joe Pike.
Ooh. Yeah. Pauline, you have another fan in the audience, Jeff Abbott, saying, I am always here for Oline's recommendations. She is excellent. Jeff, I couldn't agree more. Oline is brilliant in all of her picks and able to pick something for everyone. Literally, no matter what you like, there's something delicious for you.
I hope so. And I just realized I held up the wrong book. I thought I had them in order. So this is Robert Craze, Racing the Light. We'll get to that other one later. But
Racing the Light, here it is, Racing the Light. Thank you so much. And thank you, Jeff, for your comment. Thanks for joining us. Oline, tell us your next spooky book pick.
Okay, now, I'll make sure I got the right one. Blackwater Falls. I hope I pronounced this author's name correctly.
I actually hosted her 2 years ago. This is Asna Zahanet Khan. She's an incredible author. I love Asna.
Oh, good. Thank you for pronouncing it. I loved her community policing series that was set in Canada. Yes. And so I'm really interested in how she does with this, because this book is going to be set in Colorado, where I believe the author lives. And in this one, a teenage girl who's a Syrian refugee is found murdered and posed as a Madonna in a church. It's very creepy. And the case falls to a female Muslim detective. And what she does with her other series and with this book is she shows the tensions of a multicultural American community that's struggling with bias, fear, and corruption. And she packs a lot of action into her books. And I think her books are very bent with social justice. I find that very, very exciting. So Blackwater Falls. So now I go back to the book I showed before.
Yay.
Okay. Sophie Hannah, A Couple at the Table. Now, couple at the table. Here's the setup. A pair of honeymooners are at a dinner at a very fancy restaurant. They get a very chilling note from someone, they don't know who, that says, "Beware of the couple at the table nearest you."
Wow.
Well, that would make me ask for a takeout box and get the heck out of there. Yeah. Okay. This is another debut author, and this is Welcome to the Game by Craig Henderson. Now, this is about a Englishman who had a very successful career as a rally car driver, and he moves an entire family to Detroit, where he opens a dealership of foreign, specializing in foreign cars. But then his wife dies. He has serious money problems. He almost loses custody of his young daughter. His salvation, or maybe his complete downfall, are his superior driving skills. And he has a very intimate knowledge of Detroit. And that leads to a job driving for a vicious money launderer. Okay. All right, I've got 3 more. Can I still have time? Okay.
Yes, you do.
The Double Agent by William Christie. I admit spy novels are never at the top of my list.
Okay.
But what I like about this is it's very much character driven. It has a very interesting approach, and it turns around kind of the classic espionage novel by focusing on this very self-proclaimed thief and delinquent whose only loyalty is to himself. And it takes place during World War II. And Alexei has been trained by the Russian Secret Service. He's Russian. He's sent to Nazi Germany, where he has established himself as a German intelligence service agent. But then he warns the British that Stalin has a plot to kill Churchill. And as a reward for saving Churchill's life, the British want him to spy for them. So he's sent to Italy as a sergeant in the German army. Okay. But I mean, it's much better than what I just described, but it's just full of, it's also very much of a pivotal point during World War II when control of the Vatican and northern Italy were at stake. Christie uses real historic figures in this, and it very skillful. It's a really thrilling plot. It is a lot of violence because it is in the middle of the war, and these are ruthless people. But as a spy novel, it's very good. Yeah,
I love that. Oh, and Margaret Pinard joining us from Portland, Oregon, saying she loves what you were saying about Asma Zahanet Khan, saying social justice themes. She's dropping in at just the right time. Yes, Margaret. So I love Asma and all Aline's book picks. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you all. I really appreciate everyone showing up for this, since I just babble along. Now,
love it.
The Personal Assistant by Kimberly Bell. Fame is very fleeting, and I think especially on the internet and Facebook. And this is about an Instagram influencer. She's finally got 1 million followers, and she writes about family life, little motivational messages, and she's just as high as she can be because the popularity keeps growing. Then her fans turn on her. She writes a post slamming a teenage star. And she doesn't remember writing that post because, frankly, she drinks too much. And then her personal assistant, who we only know as AC for a while, disappears. And she relies on her AC so much that she can't move forward. She can't make an apology. She doesn't know what to do. It's very much a fresh take on the domestic thriller. And as her whole family, including her twin daughters, are pulled into the story. And it's just, it's a good book.
Ooh, I love Kimberly Bell. So I'm excited to read that one.
She's terrific. And my last pick is The Last Party by Claire McIntosh. You're familiar with her, right, Sara?
Yes. But tell us more.
Okay. This is a great combination of a psychological thriller and a police procedural. A developer who's behind a very controversial luxury vacation that's on the banks of a Welsh lake is murdered. Now, he grew up in a small village, but he was not very favorably remembered. And the case falls to two detectives, one Welsh, one English, because it's right on the border. So they bring everybody in. Now, their working relationship doesn't start well because on New Year's Eve, they had a one-night stand and they both used fake names. And then they meet when they're introduced to each other at the crime scene. It's like, okay, awkward doesn't even begin to describe the situation. But they are professionals and they find their investigative skills kind of complement each other. And, I also love the view we got of Wales and these small towns, which I don't see that much of.
Right.
So those are my picks. And I think I ended 2 minutes for questions or whatever, right?
Okay, perfect. Yes, we have 2 minutes for questions. Oline, thank you for these amazing, amazing book picks. Margaret saying industrialization and gentrification in Wales. Yes, please.
Right.
Absolutely. Marcy saying, I keep popping over to my Goodreads page and adding these books to my I want to read shelf. Yes, ma'am. Jeff saying the double agent sounds like his jam. Oh yeah, that one sounded tasty. Wendy saying she cannot wait to read these books. I know I've learned so many books I learned about so many books I hadn't heard of. So Oline, your book picks are always fresh, exciting, new, juicy. Oh my gosh, you are the right one to give us the tastiest, spookiest, chills-inducing, thrills-inducing books for spooky season. Margaret saying Hinterland was great until it got too gory for her. Wendy saying thank you so much for all of these. Melissa saying thank you, so many great books. Thank you so much. Jeff saying thank you, Oline. Oline, I wanna thank you also, and thank you for coming on, and thank you for dedicating the show to your friend Suzanne, who was a wonderful reader. And one lucky winner from tonight's, I'll go through the comments. One lucky winner, I'm going to DM you. Oline's going to pick the lucky winner to get a special copy of Lisa Unger's Secluded Cabin Sleeps 6. So check your DMs. We'll be contacting the winner soon.
Sarah, thank you so much for having me on. And let me make one plea for independent bookstores.
Yes.
Please buy from them. They need good business. They are the foundation of the genre. So please go to independent bookstores such as Murder by the Book.
Yay. Yes, exactly. Our woman-owned independent bookstore, our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. And all of these links were just so easy for you to click and order. A mysterious friend saying thank you so much for the great picks. Cindy joining us saying thank you. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Oline. And again, everybody, if you haven't commented yet, comment so we can pick your name. Let us know you were here. Thanks for all the love and hearts, but comment, just say thanks or just say hi so that we know you were here. Rebecca, thank you for all the recommendations. She says, I read so many from your last review. Yes.
Oh, good.
Best book picks. Just comment hi, just comment thanks, comment spooky season, just comment so we know you were here. And I will be back at the top of the hour with another fabulous, fun interview. Oline, thank you so much. Thank you all. I'll see you back here at 8.
Thank you, Sarah. Bye-bye, everyone. Happy reading.